So I'm back today to continue working on wiring on the Bel Air. I'm also going to cover up our gas filler door. I think I'm just going to weld it on. The pieces on the back are all wonky and falling apart. You can see that it's been tacked on before to fix it. The reason that I'm going to do that is we're going to just put a fuel cell in the back in here, which will be way easier than trying to stick a gas tank back down on the bottom. And there we go, just the way I like it. Tacked in there, solid, nothing's going anywhere. I didn't realize that there was maybe a little bit of undercoating or something like that behind here because it got a little smoky and stinky, but that's done. So while I'm at the back of the car, I think what I'm gonna do now is set up my light, and I'm gonna run my wires for either side and get that finished, get my tail lights and all that sort of stuff figured out. I'm not sure if the time lapse caught that last little bit when I actually pulled the cable through this troublesome side. I had to turn it off and then turn it back on again, and something came up. But one of the things that comes in handy is this nice long piece of stiff hose that's part of my suction tank to drain oil from a hard to get at, well, oil pan, I guess. So that managed to get things through because there were some obstructions, got some old wires stuck in there, but now I've got my wires for the tail light and reverse light on this side. We've got the wires for the tail light and reverse light on this side, and then right here is stuff for fuel pump and a few other things I would probably won't necessarily need. I think somehow the dome light one got back here, so I may have to figure something out for that, but that's not a big deal. Okay, so I got some of these guys here, and I'm gonna drill out some holes and stick them in here for signal lights, and then I'll get back onto the dash in the car, maybe even be able to hook up a couple of wires today. Wouldn't that be fun? All right, so the dashboard is in. Temporarily, I put some nuts on the back just to hold it in place. It's not going anywhere at all. Now what I can start to do is wire things up, but first I'm going to clean off this very dirty dashboard, and I'm going to run the wire for our GPS sender in that little space there. It's like it was just meant to be when that part fell off and flew away somewhere. I still gotta put this one in, but I think I'll focus on this first. GPS sending unit has been installed on the dash. Recommended that it's flat and by a window. We've got it all connected up, which means that it's time to start wiring some power stuff in. Oh, hard to see back there, but there's the cable running into the back. All right, folks, I am back. That's right, after a bit of an adventure that you probably saw, well, no, not probably, you did see in a previous episode, because I'll make sure to post it before I post this one, Tim and I headed back out to the farm on a bit of a parts hunt, and we were quite successful in what we found, as you saw, and now I've brought it down to the garage today to begin integration into the Bel Air. So, here's what we've got here. Dashboard is there. Got our light switch there, and also got our dimmer switch here. So my goal for today is to get this taken apart and start to get gauges placed and then wires run to these guys. Now, a couple cool things that I love about this. I've got a high beam light. I hope this guy works, but even if it doesn't, I can actually get a bulb to fit in there, which is pretty cool to be able to reuse that and put it on my dash. Everything else, it's all electrical senders. Also ended up with some brackets, which I'm going to need, and a light system of some sort. Oh, I see how that works. I have to figure out how to integrate that into my gauges. Huh. Well, all right. So I've also got some dummy lights here. I don't know what they are, but I can shine a light in behind them and we can see. I don't know if I'll end up using them or not, or what the story is there. So we've got this all disassembled. A couple of interesting things that I've come across here. First off is this little setup. Now originally I was disappointed because I thought that these gauges did not have any lights in them. But as you can see, they've got a clear spot right there and there on that one. And on the oil one, right there and there on that one. So what ends up happening is they go into this bracket here, and then this bracket, there is a light that shines through there. Pretty ingenious, actually. Now, the only thing that I'm not sure of is whether or not that's going to line up with the dashboard holes that I drilled, because I hadn't even thought about doing this. You know what, I thought it was just going to be individual gauges. And strangely enough, it's really hard to find oil pressure gauges, older oil pressure gauges, that have any type of light in them to light up. I mean, I would like to see my oil pressure at night. Be interested to see amps at night. Not that that matters. You know that if your lights aren't working, then there's probably something wrong with your battery. But I also disassembled the whole light bank here. So we've got blinker there, and then we've also got here, it's going to be hard to see. I'll do it like that. So got generator, low oil, water, and low air. Now, this just needs a cleanup. Oh, look, you just look on the back there. Didn't even need to shine things through. This needs a bit of a cleanup. But the one thing that's interesting is I basically could make that a light switch for anything at this point in time. So I'm going to probably integrate those in as well. We've got this guy here. This is kind of what's left of it. The speedo is really cool, but it's in miles per hour. And as you saw earlier, we've already got the GPS speedo installed, but we're going to keep all this sort of stuff. I'm so glad that Tim found this in that cab over, because I love the idea of recycling. Not only did we save some money, but all of these really cool old gauges that were probably built extremely well are now going to be used again. My fingers are crossed that they all work. So this is one of those perfect examples of random good luck and kind of random bad luck at the same time, which not a random bad luck that's impossible to overcome. So I took this piece of the dashboard back out of the car. Here is the piece that came out of the cab over. Put that in, and it lines right up. Basically, that means that I can just drop those gauges in there and we won't have any issues with them whatsoever. I did not plan that. I mean, weeks ago when I made this, I had no idea that we were even going to use these gauges. Now, the problem that we run into is that to do that and do it properly, where the gauges will be the right side up, is that I've already drilled my holes for the turn signals. So what basically that means is if I want this to work, and I really do, and that is how I'm going to set it up, I'm going to have to plug these back up, give them a quick grind down, which is not the end of the world at all, and then I'll be able to mount that up. Okay, so here is some further excitement. Got our dashboard mounted in. Nothing at all is hooked up. Now, an interesting thing though is, as I had mentioned earlier, had to plug these holes up. I just did a quick plug. I might fancy them up later, but again, like I say all the time, rat rod, which is perfect. I can use that as an excuse for things to look a little bit sloppy. But it also means because of the way that the bracket has gone behind here, I can't put my signal lights down there anymore. But I did notice that there is the blank out for the radio. So I removed that. It is right here. Now this is our light panel that had all the indicator lights and all that sort of stuff from the other dashboard here. Now, this guy could potentially line up and go in there, and then we could have a spot for all sorts of cool lights plus the signals. So I'm gonna see what I can fab up for that, see how I can fit it. It is gonna be a tight fit, as you can see. This just about lines up, but there is actually still some metal here where the holes are for the radio knobs. It kind of goes a little bit further onto either side. So I'm going to just kind of fiddle around and see where I can get with that, but that would be pretty cool. Then I'd be able to hook up everything properly and it would look pretty neat. So I tried a couple of different things here and I probably overthought stuff. So what I had done was I had actually cut this chunk out of this dash panel here, which is this piece here. And I was going to put it here to just make it look, I don't know, vintage. But I think in the end, I'm much happier with how this guy turned out. You can kind of see how everything's gonna go through there. So now it's just a matter of getting it mounted back up. And it is in. And I must say, I'm very happy with how things turned out. There we go. Signal lights and everything. It does bump out a little bit here more than I would have liked, but I'm being really picky at that point. But overall, it's coming together. Definitely looks a lot different than it did this morning when I wandered on in. So I think the next step up is to get this guy assembled and put it in and see how the whole dash looks. I only have one gauge to put in that one right now, but I'll have to track down some others. And there's what it looks like with all the gauges in so far. Now those ones that are over there are just doubled up ones that I already have. Oh, actually no, the temp one is the right one. I just have to make a bracket for it. I'm not sure what I'm going to put in for the other two yet. We'll have to hunt them down because they do repeat. It's just another oil pressure and another amp gauge. But that gives kind of a basic idea of what things are going to look like once everything's all together for that side of things. I think it's looking pretty cool. Now I'm going to start working on the other stuff, which is the dimmer switch and also the light switch. Dimmer switch is installed. I was lucky. I didn't even realize it at the time. I thought I was going to have to wire it up, but this kit does come with a plug that just plugs directly into a floor dimmer switch like this. Next order of business is to figure out where I want to mount the light switch and then start wiring it up. So I'm doing some reading. I'm getting my light switch all figured out. I've got the wires that I got to connect it up to sitting right here. This is just the absolute handiest access panel. I cannot say enough good things about it. But I've also got our high beam light installed. This is where the light switch is going to go here. I've just got to do a little bit of figuring, make sure everything is all set up properly before I do some connecting. I've still also got to install all the wiring for the speedometer and get that powered up too. But that's it for me today. Like I said earlier, I came down with a plan, went on a bit of a diversion, but it was a good diversion, and now I'm just working away on a couple of other things. So the next time I'm down, I'm going to have this all organized. I'm going to start wiring all this stuff up. Super straightforward. Instructions in this painless wiring manual are fantastic. And then I'll just keep going. Before I know it, it's all going to be wired up. So thanks for watching, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one.